But so for your betas, you need really, really small imitations. So I'm going to tie 3 of them. The first one is a nymph, and this is my standard beadhead pheasant tail. Okay, you've seen beadhead pheasant tails before. It's you know, pretty much a standard thing. I'll just show you a few of the tricks that I do to make this work. First thing is that I have a bead already installed on the head here. Okay. This is often the hardest part of the fly, is getting that bead on there. And I don't know whether you can see it from here, but I have these 3 beads lined up along the edge of my vise thing here. You just go down there, you poke it very carefully with your glasses in there, and you put it on. The thing about nymphs is the nymph typically will be a little bit larger than the adult, okay? Because the adult has to come out of the nymph, so it's just a little bit larger. This is a size 16, TM code 2457, I think, which is a scud hook, and it's a heavy wire scud hook. You can use any scud hook or anything like that, as long as it gets to about the approximate dimensions that you want. And this is right. And some of you have seen me do this before. I put the bead over to the side, and I build up a base for it. See, because what can happen with these flies is if you don't build up this base, or if you don't find some way of getting that bead solid in there, what's going to happen is that it's going to start moving around. It'll push the body back, and the fly will fall apart. So now that I've put that in there, I just check it. I need to make it a little bit thicker, and I just keep on making wraps until I get it so that it there. So now it's a little difficult to get it over. So now I could whip finish, tie it off there, and start again behind it. But since I'm tying these for use rather than for show, I just hop over the bead and make a whole bunch of wraps here. Like that. So I'm sort of making sure that this bead is not going to be moving too much. And then I throw a little bit of glue in there. Head cement or super glue if you want. So the trick with using the head cement or glue is you want to put some in, and then you want to make a bunch of wraps over top of it so that it's really worked in there well. Okay. So now we need some reinforcement. Pheasant tail is really notoriously fragile. It falls apart under use. So what you need is some wire. And I said in the instructions I posted on the website for this red wire, but when I went looking, I didn't have any red wire that was thin enough. All I had was really thick stuff. So I'm just going to tie like that, and I like the curve. I like the curve of these hooks. It gives you sort of an imitation of the nymph swimming. So tie that on. Okay, so pheasant tail. You can use your standard ring neck pheasant tail. Okay, that works just fine. But I prefer golden pheasant tail. It's just got a little bit more dark contrast to the light and dark in it. The body comes out a little bit different. I think it just works better on pheasant tails. So I'm going to just pull out about 4 or 5 strands of this. Just rip it off the thing so that the points are more or less aligned. And this is another hard part for me. I rarely, if ever, get these tied on short enough. Usually they're too long. but that's about body length. So I'm going to try to get them tied on in there. And the trick here is to make your wraps on at the same spot. Okay? And then I'm going to take the thread, advance it up to there, and wrap this. So you notice I'm getting a thin body, which the natural has, and then it has a thicker thorax. So we're going to build up the thorax with peacock curl. So once I get it up there, that's where the thorax is going to be. So wrap that off, make a couple securing wraps to lock it in. Snip that off. Okay, so now the tails may not be sticking out in exactly the right plane, but I don't worry about that. Life is too short to worry about that. So what I do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to reverse wrap it. And you reverse wrap it because if you wrap it with the wraps of the pheasant tail, it doesn't provide any protection. It'll just fall apart on you. So, and then I'm going to wrap this back so that it's in there. And these things are turning out a little bit long, but they're not too bad. Okay, now this is a trick that I saw Phil Rowley do years ago at the club, and it just astounded me. And lots of you know about this thing, which is moving this, helicoptering it off to get it to break it off. Okay, but it wasn't until I realized the trick. This is like a magic trick. This is misdirection. You have to hold the thread tight in order for it to work. If you don't hold the thread, it doesn't work. So there, it's off. That's, you know, and that's good. Okay. So now, the final ingredient is peacock curl. Now you can use your standard strung stuff, which comes from all the leavings that they find on the floor and all the stuff that falls off when they're harvesting it, or you can use the good stuff, which is the sticks. So here's a trick. Okay, you notice that this side has the eye, and then the other side is the back of the eye, and the back of the eye is not nearly as bright or beautiful. So if you hold the eye towards you, and you go to the left of the eye and pull off, say, 3 of these. Yeah, maybe we'll only, this is pretty thick, so maybe we'll only need 2. Okay. If you tie this in by the tips, you will get a nice thick body. Okay. Now the tips are very, very fragile.
Why the left side, Michael?
Would you like me to demonstrate what happens if you do it from the right side? Okay, so you go to the right side. Do 2 off. This is something I've discovered over the years, and it I don't know why, but it just seems so obvious to me once I found out. So I tie that in like that, and then I wrap it. Yeah, actually, that turns out pretty good too. Maybe what I'm saying is not true. But what I found is that if you tie the right side the left side in from the tips. We'll just experiment. Maybe I've got it backwards here.
Maybe that was a left-handed peacock.
Anyway, there's a curve in the peacock. So 3 behind, 1 in front. Snip that off. That'll give you a fuller body. So the rule of thumb that I found is that if you tie from the left side, you tie in by the tips. If you tie in from the right side, you tie in by the butts to get a fuller body. And it didn't work out this time, so. And then just a whip finish. And 3 turns is usually enough on these flies. And a tiny, tiny bit of glue in there. So there. If you look at this, the tails are splayed off to one side, but that's still okay. The nymph is going to be going in the current this way and that way. It's tied in the round, the way Charlie Brooks tied his nymphs, so that whichever way it looks like it's up. Here.